After returning the Nikon Revolution 5 Pro, I ordered myself the latest Scuf Envision Pro PC only controller. Now that I've spent a few weeks using the controller on a daily basis, I wanted to share my thoughts with you, the good and the bad about this controller. I'm going to start with the good, the overall design. The controller is very attractive. I ordered the one in grey and orange, as you can see, as it goes with the theme of our channel. So, I absolutely love it. The removable front plate, the orange accents, and the rear button layout are some of the things I really love about this controller. It gives you a lot of customization options, including mapping the buttons as well as changing the faceplate to something different colors. If it gets worn out, you can easily swap it out. The grip at the back and the feel in the hand is all really premium. I do feel like it's missing a little bit of the meat around where you hold it. It's not too bad. I mean, if your hands were too big, you could potentially add something on top to give it a bit more meat. Otherwise, it's fine. All the build qualities and, the gaps and flushes around it, all the buttons and stuff, it's all perfect. I couldn't find any flaws around the gaps around this areas, which we saw on Nikon was quite bad. Around any of the buttons, they all look really good. Every single button on there is clicky, which, wow, well done, Scuf. That is something not a lot of other controllers offer on the market, so brilliant job there. Some buttons do feel a little bit better to press than others, but we can talk about those in the bad section. The back button layout is amazing. Yes, there is still a level of muscle memory you have to develop, but I think you have a much higher chance of getting there with this layout compared to some of the other controllers in the market. I mean, with Nikon, I really struggled. It required you to use your ring finger, which I'm not very used to. On this one, I literally use the middle finger and I can press both buttons depending on the situation. Occasionally do press the wrong button just because it's resting a bit closer to here, but that's just muscle memory that I need to get used to and not panic while gaming. So this controller I bought with my own money. I did get another one that Besavior sent through to me, which has the aim style layout on the back. So I'll be testing that out in the next video and letting you guys know how that feels in terms of these buttons, because I think it's fundamental of actually being able to adapt to the different button styles really dictates of if it's worth getting a certain controller or not. And this one, 100%, it's easy to adapt. So really recommend this one. And look out for the Besavior review coming in a few weeks. The G buttons, so if I turn this on, put it on wireless, turn it on. Now, that's a really good thought. Really appreciate that from Scuf. Being a PC-only controller, you can put macros, assign macros to these buttons to do whatever you want. They are all clicky as well. I've currently got them mapped for the default option of media control, turn volume up and down, mute mic, mute audio, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I haven't really done a huge amount with them. I know when I was speaking to Yormaya, he was considering maybe assigning a slide cancelling when Modern Warfare 3 was going to come out. But we've realized since that it's just it's a bit easier to do in Modern Warfare 3 than it was in Modern Warfare 1, the original Warzone 1, where you had to press crouch, jump. Now it's crouch and jump, or crouch and crouch again, and that's just slide cancelling. So that's okay. You don't need a macro for that, to be honest. You get pretty used to doing that easily with these styles of back buttons. But there's loads of other things you could think of. Maybe Fortnite builds. You could assign different key combinations for it to build a certain wall or structure in front of you to really improve your gameplay and things along those lines. As I've already touched on, the D-pads and the A, B, Y, X buttons all are amazing to press. Like, definitely the best buttons I've pressed on any controller, regardless of where they're positioned. They're just perfect, and I'm a bit sad I don't use them frequently enough because don't need to for Call of Duty, because I've got all the buttons here, which are still good, but you can tell they don't sound the same. The lower trigger buttons are actually something I'm really excited about overall. The fact you can have them clicky or slide the slider across, and it gives you the full range of motion and takes away the clickiness, which is a great piece of engineering by Scuf. I mean, I wanted the Scuf Reflex Pro just because of all the clicky buttons. you can't even tell these can do anything other than be a clicky button. So the accessory pack's a little bit limited. I mean, you've got a really nice braided USB-A to USB-C cable, and you've got a USB-A to USB-C adapter, which I've got somewhere here. So you've got this adapter as well, which is all really good, comes with the box. And then you've got the thumbsticks and then some caps for putting over some of the buttons if you don't want to use them, like these side ones and the middle ones. You can remove these and put a cap on it, so you lose the functionality of those. Other than that, there is a picking tool which you can use to remove the front faceplate, but I don't really need to use that. Normally I'm able to get my fingers behind it. Because I've got this put on top, I'll have to remove that, which I'm not willing to do right now because it's painful to get it back on. But you get the idea. It's pretty simple. You've seen it on other videos. Swapping out between profiles is really easy. You just press this button and it cycles through the different profiles. I personally have kept a single profile because I had trouble with all the different profiles, and I've had situations where it's swapped profiles. Maybe I've accidentally pressed this button, not realized it while panicking in my game. But it's easy to do if you wanted to make the use of that feature. Battery life on this, I've tested it to be about 8 to 10 hours with RGB on. And the way I've tested that is just, fully charging it and then just using it until it drains all the battery for all my gaming sessions. And yeah, 8 to 10 hours is what I've had with the RGB on. I think if you turn the RGB off, you could probably achieve somewhere in the region of 12 to 14 hours at the max. But I think anything above 8 hours on a controller is pretty damn good. So you shouldn't need anything more than that. If you are looking for something a lot more than that, then probably just play it wired and save yourself a bit of money. So that's an option for you. And I've done some input lag tests on this. With the wired, it gives me a stable connection when compared to the wireless. The wireless had a few occasions of having special causes of, really high input lag. But overall, it was still in the region of 2 milliseconds, which is about a polling rate of 450 to 500, depending on the figures you look at. It's not a game changer, but it is plenty. I mean, 1 millisecond, there's no way a human would be able to perceive 1 millisecond in a game. So you're not really going to get much benefit out of a different controller. And yeah, I think that concludes all my likes about this controller. And I've got a few things that I don't like, and that's what I want to really focus on, just to, give you all the information you require. So when you do subscribe to this channel, we're here to give you the information, regardless of the company, regardless of the product. So I don't even think I need to tell you one of the things that I don't like about this controller. You can pretty much see it with the reflections. This controller pulls oil off your fingers like anyone's business. I've cleaned this controller before making the video, and I've cleaned it several times on a daily basis. I can never get it to look the way I want it to look with no smudges. Regardless of what I do, there's just oil marks everywhere. Even if I wipe it, you can see it's really not going to take away the marks that well. I don't know if you'll be able to see any of these marks coming back on. But yeah, my hands are clean, pretty sure. I washed them last year. Second thing, and this is probably the biggest deal for most of you out there, is it doesn't have Hall effect thumbsticks. Like, come on, what year are we living in? Coming up to 2024, you've released a brand new controller. It's £190, including shipping. Put some bloody Hall effect sticks in there so no one complains about stick drift. We know, read any comments section for any Scuf review. One of the key things everyone complains about is stick flipping drift. So just add some Hall effect thumbsticks and you're sorted. That's your biggest downfall right now, in my opinion, Scuf. You make brilliant products, but stick drift happens too frequently, happens to all controllers, but because the consumer is paying so much money for your controllers, you need to give them some peace of mind. That's a big negative about this controller at £190. And then something I touched on is like the feel of these buttons, and sometimes the registering of the buttons. I found the inner ones, a few times it's not registered my press, and I can't get my muscle memory established in a way that it always registers the press. I've been using this controller every day for 6 weeks now. So by now, I expect my muscle memory to be on point. That's something to consider. Button layout, again, is amazing. They're both clicky, a lot that's going right, but there's something wrong with them at the same time. I mean, these sound beautiful. That sounds plasticky. So don't know what you can do about that stuff. Otherwise, these back buttons are really amazing and definitely one of the best I've used on all the controllers I've looked at so far. So, and moving on to the lower triggers again. Now, there's some level of stick drift on this. Like when you'll see I have the software open, you can see they are moving around. And I found I've accidentally pressed them, or sometimes I've pressed them, they haven't registered. Now, the second part doesn't normally happen. It's happened occasionally. But the first part of pressing them by accident, without the click happening, they seem to register, a grenade being thrown and stuff. That's something I've countered by increasing the dead zone on there. So, I need to travel more for it to register a press than less. Now, that's really improved it, and I've not had the same problem again. And on those triggers, these sliders, they don't give me any confidence whatsoever. They are completely flush with the sides, so to move them is a bit painful. And I honestly thought on the first day I might break these really easily. So I don't know what the mechanism's like. I don't know how well it's been tested, but that does concern me of how robust these sliders are. And if at any point I lose the ability to change around the clickiness from clicky to full travel, that's going to be a really sad day for anyone. So, and then moving on to the side buttons, I mean, what is the use of these? They were originally still registering the top trigger buttons, and I kept pressing them. I mean, they sit there like literally. You don't even realize when you've pressed them. There's not enough resistance in them that you can be conscious about it. It does get pressed really easily. I intend to put the blanking plates on top of those because, yeah, that's just useless for me. I've switched them off literally after a couple of sessions. So that's probably what I would consider you do as well. They sound brilliant. Still beautiful clip, but not useful. What do you guys think you could use this for? Like, I'd really like to hear someone's thoughts on some potential uses for these buttons. It's definitely not helping me, so I'm gonna plate them up unless one of you really recommends a good use for it, and then I might pin that comment and try it out myself. And then from there, the joysticks, I mean, these feel really, really light, feel a bit like they're out of a Kinder Surprise egg. And the fact this one, the extended one, is a domed, and the grip on these is just not very good. Hence, I'm not using them on the controller, and I'm using this, which came with the behaviors, where you can just slide them on top, and it gives you really good grip. This one gives you no grip at all, which, yeah, that's why these are probably going to stay in my backpack the whole time or in my box. And then on top of that, these don't take the standard control free risers. They do and they don't, because you can put on a PS5 riser, it will fit. It's just, it will rotate around. I'll show it with the ones I've got. So if I just clip this on, it rotates. It used to do that on my PS4 controller as well. And that's what you can expect from a PS5 Control Freaks riser. It's going to rotate. I mean, it's not a big problem, but it's not ideal. All that for £190, it doesn't allow you to use it on any other console. So it is purely a PC-only controller. It's a lot of money to pay for one platform use case only. So in my opinion, it's probably more expensive than a Scuf Reflex Pro if you had a PS5 as well, to get this instead. And I would highly consider that controller because it provides you with most of the functionality on this controller, as well as some connections. So at least you've got options, which is great. I mean, if you're a pure PC gamer, then yeah, this is perfect and you would have no problems with this controller. But if you want some level of flexibility when you meet up with friends and you need that additional controller, you can take your own. That's one place this is going to be highly ineffective. There are obviously other controllers in the market as well that give you PlayStation or Xbox connectivity as well as PC. They won't have all these beautiful clicky buttons for sure. I mean, Scuf's done a great job on those. but it's going to give you options in terms of your use case, so your money will go further, which is something I'm really keen on as a consumer. And then onto the software and how well it integrates. I mean, you have to keep the software running in the background for you to utilize this controller properly. And the profiles, I've had some trouble with the profiles and button mapping, so it wasn't the smoothest ride. I'm totally confused between the hardware mapping and just the plain old mapping. Why would you have that? Just keep it all under one tab. It's annoying, but it gives you a lot of customizable options like macros, the response curves, the trigger distances, all of those things. I mean, you can do a lot in the software. It's just a bit painful to use. That's all it is. Otherwise, it's all good. And then for £190, you get no gyroscope in this controller, which, the PlayStation 5 controller at £55-60 gives you. So there's no gyroscope. I know a few other people in my previous videos have asked about, do the controllers have gyroscopes? And yeah, this one doesn't. And then finally, for me, it does not come with the travel case, which is, again, a bit sad. But if you're using this just with a PC, you're most likely not going to travel in game. So it's fine, but all you get is this box, which is a very nice box, but it's not a travel case and it's quite hefty. So, I'd prefer having a travel case. I know the Savior comes with the travel case, the Nacon came with the travel case, and some of the other controllers do. So, Scuf, please create a travel case for this controller. Send me one and send it to every single person that spent £190 on your controller, because it should just be given that we get a travel case with a controller at that price point. In conclusion, I would give this controller a handsome 4.5 out of 5. I mean, it's a great controller. It's not exactly aimbot, which some reviewers have claimed it to be, although the inputs are very accurate and you can really feel connected to the controller. It does not improve your gameplay just by getting this controller, so don't be fooled by some of the comments about it's an aimbot. It's got nothing about it that makes it improve your aim other than being accurate, which is very welcoming. There's two main reasons I don't give it 5. One being it doesn't have Hall effect thumbsticks, 100%. And then second one, the connectivity options is relatively expensive. You can only use it with your PC. It's just not good enough. I mean, I was considering saying 4, but I will say, Scuf's done a lot well on this controller. The buttons, overall the feel, the back buttons, thumbsticks, a lot of things Scuf's done really well on this controller, so I can't flaw it. Overall, a solid controller. I would even go as far as saying potentially consider the wired option. I've only played this controller wired because after doing the test, I didn't want that input lag special instances where I'm getting 200 milliseconds, but with the wired I didn't get as bad outliers, so that was great. I could potentially look at the normal Envision controller, not the Pro version, which means I lose the clicky buttons here, and I believe it's just the grips, which, you could just add aftermarket grips, which would probably give you a better feel than these do. They're good, but they're not exceptional. So you could save yourself a good £50 and get the controller that's wired and still have everything else that you could imagine. And at that price point, come on, Scuf, that's awesome. Definitely worth considering, especially if all you game on is PC and you don't touch any other consoles. 100%. As soon as you touch other consoles, and not in the wrong way, you need to start considering some of the other controllers, because they'll give you a similar sort of performance and the connectivity. So let us know, what are your thoughts about this controller? Are you considering buying it? If yes, why? And if no, why not? Keep tuned in. We will be doing another review of the Savior controller, which has been sent over by the company. So yeah, we'll be sharing that very soon, and we'll see you in the next one.